What has been your favorite fight that you've done so far?
Probably knocking Conor out in Abu Dhabi.
If you have a big fight coming up, how you feeling about it?
I've never lost 2 fights in a row, so coming off of a loss, I got to right the ship. I got to get my hand raised.
I feel like when Conor said,
It's red panty night when you signed to fight me, yeah?
Would you say that's true or not?
Yeah, for sure.
Change your life. I'm so proud to hear it. Now, do you guys see you would lock it up a 4th time, or do you think it's done after the 3rd?
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the Mighty Cast.
Yeah.
Now, Dustin, there's something you want to talk about. That's just the last impressive negotiation tactics is something you do not want to talk about, correct?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you now.
Okay. The only thing you don't want to talk about is the impressive negotiation tactics you just did, right?
I can't hear you.
This.
No. DJ,
I'm busting your balls.
Yeah.
You fucking bastard.
Yeah, I'm the producer.
I hope you all.
I'm the producer. I can hear you.
You know what, Dustin? I hope after this interview, I hope you have explosive diarrhea. Like, I hope you just can't get off the toilet. Your wife's like, "What's wrong, baby?" I'm like, "Mighty curse me." Can't get off the toilet.
The voodoo.
The voodoo. Okay, well, I get it now. Okay, sounds good. All right, Mike, you let me know when we're ready to rock and roll. We'll bang this out. So just
you're recording.
I'm about to hit. I got a 5-mile run after this.
Oh, gee. Well, I hope you have the squirts all down your legs. All right, here we go. Let me bang this bitch out. All right, in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Cast. And my guest today, this man is a diamond in the rough, and this man is paid in full. Help me welcome Dustin Poirier, the diamond. Dustin, how you doing, my friend? First off, I apologize about being late. My headphones and everything was not getting connected to the computer, so I apologize for being late. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. No problem, man. I'm good.
Good. Now, Dustin, it's been a long time. I think the last time I saw you in person was probably UFC 178 when you were taking on Conor McGregor. It's been that long. I know my wife and your wife message each other every once in a while if she's wearing a cute outfit or whatnot, but I've been following your career, been loving everything you've been doing. And man, like, how you been? How's the career? How's the life? How's everything?
Thanks, man. And same, bro. I've been a fan for a long time, and I've been watching your career. Salute, bro.
Hey,
the GOAT. Everything's good, man. Staying busy. I'm in the thick of training camp right now here in South Florida, preparing to fight in Miami. The family's good. Business is good. Life's good, man.
Nice. That's what's up. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So you first started your career out at 145, right? I mean, you fought what?
Actually,
go on.
In the WC, I was 55. Then I had an opportunity whenever, we all merged over when Zufel bought. And I had a short notice opportunity to fight a really good guy at the time at 145. So that was my first cut, like to 45. My amateur career, like back in 2007, I fought at 170, my first fight ever.
Oh my goodness. So what's saying? So I didn't know if you fought, because I remember you fought at 145 before. A lot of times you see guys in their amateur career, like I fought at 125 as an amateur. And then when I came up to the professional league, there was no 125. So I went 35. So I assume you see a lot of athletes, like they start out, if they ever drop lower as a professional, in my experience, like I know you fight at 145, you might have started your career at 145. When you get to the UFC or WEC, you're like, f it, I'm not going to cut that weight. I'm going to stay at 155. But so you started your career at 170.
Yeah, but it was like back in the day, like I wasn't cutting weight. I stepped on the scale. I think it was 168, and that was my like walking around weight, and I fought at 170.
And then now you're at 155. Sometimes you fought at biggest at UFC at 170. I could be wrong, right? Or no?
No. I fought. I don't know how many times at 145. I fought 2 times in WC at 55, and then the beginning of my UFC career at 145. more because I had an opportunity and I wasn't cutting that much weight at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to 55. After I fought Conor on the same card as you, I switched back to 55.
Gotcha. Now, do you like what's the happy, sweet, medium spot for you? Because you've been jumping all around. What's that sweet spot for you?
Honestly, bro, if they had like a 60 or a 62, you know, 62, something like that, that would be a 62. That would be perfect.
Could you imagine? All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dustin Poirier steps on the scale. 162 pounds. Like, what? Why not 160? Why not 165? But he's saying that sweet spot is 162. I love that.
162. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, man. Now, how long have you been competing for? Like, I feel like when we fought together at UFC 178, that was almost a decade ago, right? And you've already had, a very successful career at WC, where I was too, and now you're still competing at the highest level of the sport. And I feel it's got to be 18 years, because I started back in 2000, and I think I got in UFC 2011, so 2008, I believe. So how long is this, how long have you been doing this for?
17 years. Damn. Nonstop.
Damn. That's more than,
yeah.
That's more than, a kid's, educational, right? You took elementary, middle school, and high school. You're almost about to graduate from high school if you've done this for almost 18 years. How much longer, for you, what keeps you going? Like, for me, when I'm at this point in my career where it's like, okay, I feel like I've accomplished everything in mixed martial arts. And now I'm starting to traverse in this topography of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, because I haven't competed in Jiu-Jitsu competition since I was 18 years old. Now, 37, I'm like, okay, I can train 2 days a week, competed at a decent high level of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at brown belt level. I enjoy doing this more than trying to put, 8 weeks of a training camp and going out there and fighting somebody. 1, for the health. 2, because I want to be around my family and the children more. And 3, it's just nice to not have the stress of just getting ready for a big competition. Like, for you, it seemed like a Diamond's ready to go. You're still under pressure. People expect you to come out there and perform. Like, what keeps you going after 17 years?
The love of the game. I still enjoy the actual fight. It's when you've been doing it for this long, it's a love-hate at sometimes, but it's still it's how it is, man. It's still in my, some mornings I love it, some mornings I hate it. And, but it's still in my blood. It's still something I want to do and something I'm still passionate about. I'm definitely towards the end, I don't know how many fights I have left, but I still feel good. I can still compete with these young guys. And, I still love fighting.
Do you think you transition after something else? Like, after you're done fighting professionally, do you think you're still going to do something that's competitive, like jiu-jitsu, boxing? I mean, once you stop mixed martial arts, I don't foresee you trying to take any more shots to the head or anything like that. Is there anything else competitive-wise that interests you besides mixed martial arts? I mean, I'm sure if you get it done back from Saudi Arabia, like, hey, we want you to come fight, Conor McGregor in boxing, whatever it may be, you probably accept that. But is there anything else besides hand-to-hand combat that interests you after you're done fighting?
Yeah, I like to dive deeper into the culinary world. That's something that I really enjoy doing, cooking and trying different foods and things like that. That's something that I really enjoy.
Let's talk about this cooking. Now, you got this delicious hot sauce that I have not tried it because you haven't sent me any of them. Let's talk about that hot sauce. How did this hot sauce come apart? Obviously, it's a passion of yours, the culinary. Let's talk about that. Where did this come from?
Look, after this interview, text me the address you want to ship to. I got you.
Sounds good.
The hot sauce was, I've been cooking my whole life, but the hot sauce was kind of a birth of COVID, man, being stuck in the house during the lockdown, couldn't leave. So I put things together, reached out to a couple guys that I know that I respected in the hot sauce game, and got a team together, started trying different recipes till we found the ones we really wanted to launch my hot sauce, and then launched it before the second Conor McGregor fight in Abu Dhabi. So we had been working on it for a long time.
Now, when you love to cook, so who cooks most of the time in the house?
Me.
Can your wife
for sure?
Can your wife cook?
A couple things she does well, but I do the cooking.
Okay. And now when you're in training camp, obviously you're dieting, you want to keep healthy meals. Are you doing your meal preps and all that stuff too? Or is it more of a passion of you where it's like, hey, you're in the kitchen? Like for me, I love to wash dishes, but we got a dishwasher. Okay. So now I love to do laundry and load and unload the dishwasher. It's kind of like my zen moment. It's kind of like my calm, and I collect my thoughts. I sit there, I talk to myself. Now, when you're cooking, is this kind of like obviously it's your passion, but obviously you're in training camp, so you're focused on grinding in the gym. Are you still cooking your diet meals, or is the cooking out of the question? You just focus on 1,000% of the training?
No, I'm making all my meal prep for the week or every 3 days and stuff like that. I'm still doing it all.
Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And what's your favorite thing to cook?
When I'm home, like Louisiana food for sure, like gumbo, jambalaya, things like that. Cajun food.
And what's the one thing you hate to cook? Like you just despise it. You're like, I don't know why. I don't even know why I try this. Like why do I try to cook? Poultry or steak or pork.
The few times I've tried to make sushi myself, I'd rather just go somewhere and eat sushi out instead of trying to make it at home.
Why?
That's one thing, but that's nothing really that I hate cooking. I like trying different stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. There's always I went out to dinner with my sister, my nieces and nephews, and she goes, I hate tomatoes. They're just, I don't know why they even exist. I look at their red, the way they smell, the way they taste. I just despise them. So I didn't know if there was something that Dustin hates to cook. He's like, I hate sushi. Like I don't know why. It's just, I just don't like the flavor. So I always like to ask people who have a passion for culinary.
Yeah, that's not. I can't think of one thing that I hate.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up. Now let's shift back. Okay, so what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This podcast is sponsored by GFuel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, GFuel has amazing products. One of my favorite products is the Energy Formula. Now, it has 140 milligrams of caffeine, which is equivalent to a cup and a half of coffee. One of the cool things by GFuel is that it's just not the caffeine that you get your energy from, but you also get your multivitamin, so you have a nice consistent energy flow and you don't get dehydrated. Now, how I like to take mine is I take 1 scoop of the GFuel and I take a scoop of the creatine, and then I go and I start throwing some hammer and iron at the gym. And as you can see, Michael Bond's over it has some of the delicious flavors. Michael, what type of flavors we got there, baby?
Yeah, so we have the Sage Mode, and we got the Clickbait. Fueling these workouts.
Absolutely delicious. Now, if you want to give GFuel a try, all you got to do is go gfuel.com/mighty and make sure you use my promo code mighty, and I'll save you 20% on all your order. And make sure when you're there, check out my favorite flavor, the Mega Man Blueberry Slushy. It's absolutely delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to our amazing guest. Enjoy the Mighty Cast. Your camera keeps going in and out.
No, that's what I'm saying. I literally can't get it to focus on it.
I think your battles with Conor, you guys have fought 3 times. And from those battles, I remember I was there the very first time when you guys fought UFC 178. And then I remember the second time you ended up knocking him out. Third time he breaks his leg or whatnot. That trilogy, do you feel... I feel like when Conor said it's a red paint night when you fight him, would you say that's true or not? Like, obviously, he's one of the biggest draws in the sport, right? Like with the pay-per-view buys and all that stuff. When you were able to, when you fought him and you knocked him out and you beat him the third time, was that the biggest, are you saying fucking check you ever got in your life in combat sports?
Yeah, for sure.
Change your life. I'm so proud to hear it. And then you fought everybody. You fought Max Holloway. You fought Habib. You fought Conor. You pretty much fought the who's who of the sport. And
I fought Max twice. Fought Khabib. Fought Conor 3 times. Fought Gaethje twice.
God damn.
Fought Eddie Alvarez twice.
God damn, my friend. Damn. You just keep on getting after it, don't you? Oh my God.
Dude, and it's always these bangers too. You know, it's always like fight of the night, crazy fights that I get to double down on.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen Dustin Poirier fight, you know, obviously the athletes he just named, those are all banger fights. Even your fights in WC are bangers, even the early days of UFC are all bangers. You always come out to fight, right? Like, is your initial background in mixed martial art, is it boxing? Because I feel like you love to box. Like, I even did an impersonation of you pulling your shorts up, getting it down, getting the hands up, and start throwing the right hand, that left hook. What is your background that started you in combat?
Boxing.
Do you have any boxing? Do you have a boxing career, like an amateur or anything like that?
No, I never got my buddies I was coming up with at the time back in the day. They all had their amateur cards and boxed amateur. I never competed as a boxer. I would love to though.
So you went straight. So you trained you trained in a boxing gym, I'm assuming, right, in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then you went straight to mixed martial arts. Why no boxing amateur?
Because I wanted to fight, but this is around the time like when the first Ultimate Fighter was really blowing up on Spike TV and MMA was really getting some traction. And I had wrestled when I was like 10, 11 years old. I wrestled when I was young. And I'm not sure. I met some guys who at a boxing gym who were training at striking, but they were MMA fighters. Didn't know they had MMA training where I was from. I kind of talked to them in the boxing gym and then went to their MMA gym a few weeks later, and I just never went back.
Damn. It's always interesting because like I said, when you fight, it's like you box, but you have great calf kicks. Like you kick the legs pretty damn well, and you also check kicks, right? Like you just saw Super Leg versus Takura, and you had the highest level of kickboxing, and Super Leg just destroyed his legs. And typically when you fight, you destroy people's legs with the calf kicks and the leg kicks, and then you have this clean boxing as well, and you've also have some pretty sick submissions as well. So I thought your background, you would have been jumped right in straight in mixed martial arts from your overall completeness of the MMA game. But what really shines is the boxer. So I didn't know if you had an amateur in boxing or whatnot, a career in amateur boxing. So damn, that's perfect. And you say you want to do it after you're done? If you have the opportunity.
I mean, yeah, I always wanted to box. I got into combat sports thinking I was going to box, and I never got to. But we'll see. I've had a long career. I'm somewhere around 50 fights MMA total.
Damn.
Amateur and pro. So we'll see. And I've been competing for a long time, bro. I was competing on the jiu-jitsu scene when I was around 18. I started competing gi and no gi, all the way to purple belt. I competed often. And when fighting really took off and it was my main focus, I kind of stopped competing in jiu-jitsu. So that's a passion too. Put the gi back on. Might be something I do. I'm not sure. Taking it one day at a time.
I love that. Right now you're doing training. I know producer Michael, you guys were talking about training in American Top Team in Florida. And that's where your training camp is being done right now, right?
Yeah, I've been here at American Top Team in South Florida since 2012.
Okay, here's a question I'm gonna have to ask. My whole career, I've never trained at a super gym. What do I mean by super gym? You got Alex Pantoja, you got Adrian Moraes, you have Edson Barboza. I mean, you just have a gym full of killers, high level killers. What's it like training in a gym like that? For me, I train with guys who worked at Microsoft. One's a financial advisor, one's a wushu master. And it's got me to, world title fights and, a successful mixed martial arts career. I've never been in a gym where it's just full of killers. The only time I've actually trained with, killers at a high level is when I trained at Fight Ready with Henry Cejudo. But other than that, and I loved that. I absolutely loved it. How do you... how do you find that successful? Do you find it brings you more injuries? Do you find, it's nice to get different perspective and body types in the room? Like, how do you enjoy it? Like, do you enjoy it or what is it?
I enjoy it. I think everybody's different. I don't think there's any perfect recipe to make you a successful fighter. Everybody's different. Somebody might do it better from a small gym. Somebody might enjoy being a big gym. It just depends. But for me personally, getting to bounce information and stuff off of a room filled with guys with 30 plus pro fights. There's just a lot of knowledge on the mats at all times. And a place like American Top Team, man, it's kind of a revolving stable of fighters. Got some guys live there, so they're permanent stays. Every time I come down, they're on the mats. And then there's guys who are getting ready for fights who fly in. So there's always different faces, different bodies, different techniques being worked on. It's just a lot of information, and it's always changing. That's what I really like about it.
So it's like a revolving door. You see the same people all the time, but you always might get fresh faces coming in there. Now, with the American Top Team, do they have like a recovery station where, like, you know, sauna, cold therapy, red light therapy? What do they got going on down there?
In the gym itself, they do have a cold plunge in the locker room. They have a dry sauna in the locker room as well. And then just being in South Florida, there's so many professional teams and so many big MMA gyms, super gyms, you could say. There are a lot of places around here to go do recovery. It's easy to be healthy here in South Florida, man. It's health food and recovery places and gyms everywhere.
Now, do you think you will move full time to Florida? Like, I know you're based in Louisiana, correct? Like,
yeah.
Now, will you ever like pack with the family, like, hey, we're moving to Florida. I love it out here. The weather's good, you know, X, Y, and Z? Or will you, once you're done with your career, you'll move back to Louisiana and be there full time?
So I did that already. 2012, me and my wife packed up, moved here, and I lived here for 5 years, or a little bit over 5 years. And then when my daughter was born, we moved back home to Louisiana. And I sold my house and just started doing training camps where I would come down for 8-10 weeks, depending. But when it's all said and done, my home is Louisiana.
Love it. Love it. Now, do you have any recovery? What's your favorite way to recover from fights? Like, a long-ass career, right? So, obviously, you're, 37? You have to be my age, 37, 36, 38, right?
35.
35? And you got that many years on you? Oh, man, God bless you. Woo! Well, 35 years old, you're getting to, you know, that threshold of your body doesn't recover the way it used to, right? Like,
for sure.
Like when I was 26, man, I remember I fought and, you know, got a call, hey, you want to fight 3 weeks later in Vegas? Like, bet, I'm there, send the contract. Now it ain't like that. The recovery is a lot slower. I feel like mentally I'm in my prime because I see the sport differently. I break down fights constantly. I study all damn day long. But my body can't do, the recovery is not the same. For you, you've been doing this for a long time. So what are your favorite ways to recover? Are you a cold therapy guy? Are you sauna guy? Or are you just, you know, just old school, water and good love making and watching TV and chill? What is it?
Definitely old school. But
yeah.
Sauna, stretch, take a day off, get a massage. That's the thing too. Like my whole career, I've always thought like my opponent or potential opponents are working harder than me, so I can't take a day off. I can't, you know, it was a mental battle for a long time. Now taking a day off, like being more of a mature fighter, I understand like that's not being lazy. That's work. I'm prioritizing a day where I let my body recover so I can show up mentally and physically wanting to train the next day. You know, after doing it this long, if I do 2 a days, my body carries those bumps and bruises. Like I'm sore, I'm hurt for longer than I used to, for sure. You know, like you said, when you're 26, you can train 2-3 times a day hard, wake up and do it again. As you get older, man, those things, you carry them around a lot longer. You don't recover the same.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant until I started feeling it. You know, I've heard fighters talk about it in the past, like I don't recover like I used to, but now I understand, man.
It breaks my heart because sometimes like you're in the gym. I remember the times when I was 26, I'm like pop, 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 pop. And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. And I'll just do crazy shit. And the last time I injured myself, I was going after my professor. He's like 195, 30-degree black belt, a national level of judo, like 15 years, I believe, in judo. And I'm always like visualizing, okay, how am I gonna get him? Like that is my goal, is to get him. That's what drives me to get better in the gi. And each time we're on the feet, he's always throwing me in the judo. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna wrestle this motherfucker. I got up, I took a shot at the king, and man, I fucking injured my rib, the cartilage. I tore it, and I just felt the paper just. And I was like, man, if I was 26, 27, I can do the same amount of speed and the scramble all damn day. Being 37, I tried. Oh, man, I was so pissed. I was like, I don't know why I even try. Like, you're 195 pounds, 30-degree black belt. My buddy goes, hey, baby, sometimes you got to take that shot at the king. And, this day you missed and you paid dearly for it. So I know what you mean, man. It pisses me off. It makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Those rib injuries, too, take forever to heal, man.
Yeah, it pisses me off because there's not a lot of blood flow there. So I've been trying to do the cold therapy and my cold plunge, ice barrel, and I try to do the sauna, get a lot of stretching in. And I mean, it feels great. I just started training yesterday. We did like some wrestling, some Shark Tank, and I taught jiu-jitsu and my kids' class in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But it's just frustrating as we age, mentally we get sharper, we get more mature as an athlete, but it's like the recovery kind of leads us. Unless you're doing like, peptides and you're cheating on steroids and all that shit, then, you still have that, that testosterone you had when you were a child. And it's frustrating. But it is what it is. How's a wife feel about you continuing to fight, right? I know Destiny, for me, she was like, I'm so happy you're home. Like, obviously my in-laws are a lot older and they're having not health issues, but health complications, I guess you could say, that they get some stuff done being at that age of 67, 68. And she's like, man, it's so nice for you to be home, right? Like if you're in training camp, you cannot be here. So how does a wife feel about you continuing to fight? And is she looking forward to you, hanging him up, being home more? Because I'm sure when you're not in training camp, you're home, right? But that's 8 to 10 weeks.
For sure.
That's 8 to 10 weeks if you've gone. Obviously, I've been there. I miss things. I miss birthdays. I miss promotions. I miss a lot of things. Is your wife looking forward to you hanging it up soon?
I'm sure, she wants me around and I want to be around them. They're actually here with me now in South Florida. They're going to be here for 2 weeks. Yeah, they're going to be here for 2 weeks. I don't like to be away from my family for longer than 2 weeks. So, it's been a long journey and she's seen the grind, of fighting every day for the past however many years. So she knows it takes a toll on you and fighting is a very selfish sport.
Yep.
You have to really focus on yourself and, like you said, miss things but it's part of the game. It's given us everything we have and it's given us opportunities and stuff like that. So it's just a balance, man. But yeah, being home with my family, being a father, running businesses back home is something that I want to be around and doing.
Now you said other businesses. What other business you got going on? Do you have a restaurant that you go there, you cook like Gordon Ramsay, and you're like, what the fuck is this? I told you, medium well, not well done. What other business are you running?
I would love to get into the restaurant business. But we have a wine market back in Louisiana called Marcelo's. And it's been around for a long time. That's one of the businesses I have back home. We just always been, we always have something going on, always busy, somewhere to be when I'm back home. So pushing all that stuff off for 8 weeks is tough. Like my to-do list, and I finally get back home and unpack my bags from training camp and from fight week. It's like I'm playing catch up for months. You know how it is. You're like,
no, I don't anymore. I don't anymore because when I was fighting, I would say, we talked about this off record about like building your brand, right? Like, so when you go into training camp, you spend 8 to 10 weeks and you put everything on the back burner, the hot sauce, the culinary, the wine, whatever business you got going on. When I was in training camp, I didn't have none of that stuff. I wasn't so focused on building businesses and having something to do after I got done fighting. It was like I came home and I was like, I got to pressure wash the fence because HOA is getting on my butt. I got to pick up the weeds. And my wife's like, oh, you messed up, mowing the lawn. So I've never really got into building my brand until after, like right now, it's like the biggest time of my life where I'm focused on building my brand with the podcast, the YouTube, Zekin, Portable Consultants, Quantum Energy Squares. Now I'm filled. So yeah, when I do go out of town for, 2 days, I come home and I'm like, damn it, the laundry room. Damn it, the dishes. So for me, I don't know what that's like, when I come back home after 8 to 10 weeks, because I've always done all my training camps at my house. I've never traveled away from my family to do that. So when I get done with training camp, it's like, oh, I have 8 weeks. I'm a normal citizen and I just wait by the phone and wait for the next phone call. So for you, it's playing catch up with everything? And how do you manage all that? Is there every time where you're frustrated, it's like, why am I fighting? I make more money not fighting and running these businesses. Or is it the opposite where it's like you make the bulk of the money when you fight and then you come home, hey, I'm going to put 10% in this, 10% in this, 40% in, the SEP IRA. What is it?
Yeah, for sure. Fighting has gave me my money, all the other stuff is passion stuff and it's income on the side and things that'll be around forever and long-term, money making and things like that. But fighting has always been the main thing. But it is frustrating, sometimes overwhelming when I get back home and I have a stack of to-dos that I've been putting off and people waiting on me to go to this meeting, that meeting, because besides the wine market, me and my wife and our board run the foundation full time. So we have to set goals, keep everything fine tuned there. I have a whiskey business. I have the hot sauce business. I have a seltzer water business called Hop Water. That's really doing well that I'm a partner in. It's just a lot of hats to wear. It's a lot of things to juggle, especially when you're doing something as extreme as preparing for a fight in front of the world. Every fight's the most important fight. So you know how that is.
Yep.
It's just a lot. It's a lot. But for me personally, I have to stay busy like that. I have to stay in the trenches with the pressure and with business and things to do and places to be, or I go crazy. If I'm just living a civilian life with no pressure, dude, I'll go crazy.
Baby, that's why you diamond, because pressures make diamonds.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have to be. I've said this before. I have to be at war with something. If it's not coming up a fight that's pending, it's a business thing or making another move somewhere else. In business, I have to be battling something always, bro.
Now, but who taught you that, right? When was that switch? Okay, you win, you make that money, you go back home. That's the typical, in my eyes. If you take, all the athletes in the world, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it may be, they're more focused on winning the fights, which is the objective, to win the fight, to win the game, football, whatever it may be. But there's maybe 20%, maybe not even that, maybe I'm gonna go with 10% of fighters that after they win they fight, they go home okay, let's sit down, let's talk about my brand, let's talk about business, let's talk about expanding something and building something. After I'm done fighting, I can reap the benefits from it, right? Because as we know, maybe 40's pushing it, 38, 39's pushing it. After that, you have from 40 to 75 to 80 to 90, whatever it may be. That's a long life, right? So what was it for you where you got done fighting? Okay, I'm gonna get into my the hot sauce, the culinary. Obviously, it's a passion, but what pushed you to start doing business?
It kind of everything that I've done business-wise kind of happened organically. Of course, I can't fight forever.
Yeah.
But it was things that I enjoyed doing or things that I was passionate about that kind of fell into a good spot where I was able to make a business decision or be a partner in a company and things like that. And just over the years of growing up and being around successful people and brands that I've aligned myself with, it just slowly happened. It wasn't I sat back one day and said, okay, now it's time to start turning up the business. It slowly happened. One thing fell into place at a time over my fighting career. And that's just what it is now. It's kind of and in a weird way, it's all kind of like an ecosystem with fighting. My fights, I can promote things on the lead up to the fight. When I get back home, I can do things with the businesses coming off of fights. With my foundation, I can set goals, spread awareness through interviews and stuff leading up to fights. So they all kind of feed off of each other.
I love that. Let's talk about your foundation. I always feel when people start a foundation, it takes a special person, right? Because you are basically, you're out there. You're starting this cause and you are leading the charge for something you're passionate about. And let's talk about that foundation. How did this foundation come about and what does the foundation stand for?
Yes, the Good Fight Foundation. Me and my wife started it. Actually, we started doing charitable donations to things that were going on in my community before we had a foundation. We were doing it out of our own names. I'd auction off gloves or fight shorts from fights in the past, and then we donate the money to whatever was going on. But they had a big one where where a police officer, Officer Middlebrook, got killed in the line of duty, you know, a few blocks away from where me and my wife went to school growing up. And he left behind a wife and kids. So I sold some fight stuff I had then and donated it to his family. And then that was the real spark. We did it again, and I donated the money to a food drive place in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And then the snowball kept getting bigger and bigger. Every time I'd auction off something and donate it back to the community, it got more traction. I was like, you know what? Instead of doing this and the newspaper articles back home saying Dustin Poirier does this, let's turn it into its own thing, give it its own identity. We'll call it the Good Fight Foundation. That way it takes it off of my name. Of course, I'm still involved with it. Of course, my name's still attached to it, but give it its own avenue and see how we can grow this thing and get other fighters behind it and just see what happens. And so we started the Good Fight in 2018 when I fought Justin Gaethje. And since then, we've just been setting goals every year. We have a few things we do every year, like the back kite drive, Christmas presents for underprivileged kids, Thanksgiving drive for families in need. Those things are things we do yearly, but throughout the year we set small goals, sometimes big goals, and just keep it going. It just depends on whatever's going on at the time.
I love that, man. I love that. I've seen you do so much amazing things for your charity and your foundation. And like, hey, I'm auctioning off these gloves. And other fighters, I think other fighters have auctioned off gloves or donated gloves to your foundation, correct?
Yeah, Max donated his gloves. Khabib donated a shirt after the fight. Eric Anders donated his shorts. Cub Swanson did as well. I mean, there's been a bunch of fighters over the past years that have helped out, donated fight-worn things that we've auctioned off and put it towards whatever goal we set for that fight. And it's been great, man. It's been great. And now, like, I saw last night, Simba is auctioning off his shorts for his village to help with cataracts. You know, that's incredible, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
We're fighting for something. Of course we get in there. I'm fighting for me and my family first and foremost. You are as well. But if we can attach things to that or spread awareness and raise money, why not, man? It's our duty, bro. Leave the world a better place than you found it. If everybody had that mindset, things would be a little bit easier for some people.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, my thing is I always love fighting for Seattle Children's Hospital. Anything I do, whether it's a gaming appearance or if I have to, and I have to, but when they're like, hey, you know, we're not able to pay you, but we're able to pay one of your favorite charities or foundation. I'm like, Seattle Children's Hospital. Just do it to the children because those, when the children get, obviously you have children, I have children. And I feel like when I've been around in the very early days of the UFC, I remember we used to do the trip to the hospital, like every year in Las Vegas, and just see the children who never got a fighting chance, like who get diagnosed with cancer or some rare type of disease. And it just broke my heart. I told UFC, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot come to this hospital and see these children because I have children of my own and it's not mentally healthy for me. So from now on, like anything I do, any charity stuff, it goes to Seattle Children's Hospital because I try to give them a fighting chance to be able to, help out however way it can. That's what I'd love to do. So shout out to you for, starting this foundation for your city, the place you grew up in. And shout out to all the fighters who've donated to the Good Fight Foundation. That's what's up. All right, you're gonna make me fucking cry. Let me change gears real quick. Okay, all right, let's get back to the fight business. All right, so out of all the fights, who has been your favorite? What has been your favorite fight that you've done so far? Like, it could be the build-up, it could be you whooping his ass, it could be the check you got, it could be, what was it that, like, for me, I'll have to say it was probably my second, I'll probably have to say it was probably my second Adriano fight or probably the Ray Borg fight. Those are my two favorite fights. But for you, what is yours?
Man, I have a bunch of them that stick out, but probably knocking Conor out in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, I love it. I felt like that was like, I like you and I like him. I like you because the way you carry yourself, you've always been true to character. You show up to fight every single time. You never miss weight. There's no bullshit. You get what you get. This is Dustin Poirier. You have Conor on the flip side where he has his antics. I love what he's done with the sport. I remember I was playing Counter-Strike. This is a video game, and I asked the person, like, man, you know who Conor McGregor is? And these are nerds, Dustin. These are people who do not watch sports at all. And he goes, of course I do. You think I've been living under a rock? Are you living under a rock? He's been able to transcend the sport and bring different eyeballs who haven't been able to bring. And he's also been kind of a person who's like, hey, he made this money from the Floyd Mayweather fight. He's been able to do all the stuff with it. But those fights, when you guys have fought, I just enjoy it because you guys always bang. You guys are always going back and forth. Well, not really back and forth. You've been beating the bricks off him lately. And you make good money from it. So those are your two favorite. That second one is your favorite fight, or is it all three of them your favorite fights?
The second one.
The second one?
Yeah.
Now, do you guys see you would lock it up a fourth time, or do you think it's done after the third?
Man, I have no clue. I have no clue. I don't even know if this guy's going to fight again. We got to see. We got to see what's going to happen.
That is true. So how many more fights are you going to do after this? Like, you have a big fight coming up, right? I know you're in training camp. How are you feeling about it? And what are you looking at? So obviously, you've been there before. You've been so close to the title. Interim champion, right? Now with this fight coming up, I don't know if it's a number one contender. Are you guaranteed a title shot after this? I'm sure in your point in career right now, you're not even worried about the title. You're just here for a good time, put on amazing fights is what you do. How are you feeling right now about this?
I feel great. I've never lost 2 fights in a row. So coming off of a loss, I feel like, I got to right the ship. I got to get my hand raised in Miami in March. And then I've always done it this way, just taking it one fight at a time. Like when the smoke clears after March 9th, after UFC 299, then we reassess everything and see where we're at and what's going on. But still, being the undisputed champ has been the ultimate goal all along. That's always been my goal.
And that's something obviously that's something you're still, I feel like sometimes, I feel your brand of which you've done so much for the sport of mixed martial arts. I feel, this is me personally, you obviously have a different opinion. I feel if you never become champion, I still feel, obviously your career is set, obviously your career is amazing. Your legacy isn't finished being written, but if you never to become champion, right? It's kind of like your Wyatt Faber. He never became champion, and he's more popular than most of the champions at 135, right? I feel if you never become champion at 155, 170, whatever it may be, you're still going to be, you are a household name, right? They're like, man, Dustin Poirier, he was an interim champion. He never became, the undisputed champion, but this motherfucker, I fell in love with mixed martial arts because of this guy. Right? It's the same thing with Donald Cerrone. He never became champion, but he is a household name. People remember him he is going to be written in the history books, right? So for you, I feel like you don't need the belt, me personally, but for you, you feel different, correct?
Yeah, I'm thankful for the journey and the career I've had, and that every time I fight, people know it's going to be a fight. I pride myself on that. But just checking that box, on my career, saying that I did it, that was always a goal. I even in my head, if I can just win the belt, raise it up, be the undisputed champ, check that box, I've done everything that I've ever set out to do in this sport. My family is taken care of, my health is still intact, and I have a whole nother life after fighting to live. So checking that box was a big goal of mine.
Gotcha. Okay. I just sometimes I look over your illustrious career. I'm like, I think this is an athlete who doesn't need, because you've done so many great things to where I feel sometimes I understand as an athlete you want to get that check where it's like, boom, undisputed champion, right? And shit, you're on the path to try to get it. You know what I mean? And sometimes I always get conflicted. I'm like, man, does he really need to fight for the title? I mean, if sometimes not being a champion, you make the most money, right? Because there's the times where I'm the champion, fucking CM Punk makes more money than me, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be the champion anymore. I think I just want more money. That's the name of the game in my book where I'm at right now. So I don't know. I'm excited.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're prize fighters, and the prize has to be right,
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So what else you got coming up? Obviously, I don't want to hold you any much longer. I know you're in training camp. I know you got a 5-mile run after this interview. What else you got coming up besides the fighting? After this fight, you're going to get back home. You got businesses. You're going to send me some hot sauce. I hope you can send me some wine.
Gotcha.
Actually, I could buy some wine. Just let me know where I could buy some wine. What else you got coming up? This is your opportunity. Obviously, we'll get the producer, Micro, in here. He might have some questions for you. But what else do you want people to look forward to after this fight?
Follow along with the foundation, see what goals we set, and help us reach those goals, spread the word whenever we're raising money for things going on in the community. But other than that, man, being a dad, watching my daughter play soccer, watching her she's on competition cheer, so I got a lot of competitions when I get back home. Leading up to this fight, I missed my not miss my birthday. I didn't do anything for my birthday because I was prepping for the fight. My wife's birthday's coming up. So I'm looking forward to having like a double birthday trip or doing something fun, just getting back to living normal life. I kind of lock myself away whenever the fight's coming up.
Hey, happy belated birthday. If it was just me and you right now, I would have my piano and I'll play you happy birthday and sing it to you. I apologize. I don't have it. But happy belated birthday. Michael, what you got for my man?
Yeah, Dustin, I have a question about a title that you know very well, the BMF title, because at least for me, Gaethje Holloway might be the most excited I am for any fight that's coming up. UFC 300. What are your thoughts on, one, the BMF title, but two, your thoughts on that matchup, Gaethje versus Holloway? Because I think as a fan that I imagine Dustin Poirier loves watching those fights.
For sure, man. I'm excited about that fight. It's a fun fight. I fought both guys twice. I think Max has a better chance than a lot of people are giving him. Max is people think the weight's going to be a big difference, but Max is a big guy. He's not small. I wouldn't be surprised if he weighs the same as Gaethje. He's a big boy. And just the BMF title, going back to what you said, like that's a fun title that only a certain group of guys are able to compete for. That's like, I know some people don't like it. I like it. I think, if you find yourself in that category of fighter that's even able to be considered to fight for a BMF, people know you're a fan favorite. People know you're an exciting fighter. You leave it all out there. Those are the type of guys that would be able to challenge for a belt like that. It's just like another wrinkle. Of course, it's not the undisputed title, but it's a banner that means something to me. It's a fighter's fighter.
Yep. I wonder what the belt's made out of. Isn't it made out of some type of like material? Like, was it platinum? I remember like when they first showcased that belt, like Dana had the gloves on and he was like, "Ooh, don't touch it." Do you know what it's made out of?
I don't know. I don't have one. I would love to have the opportunity to tell
you. My bad. I mean it like that. Sometimes like
no.
Yeah, I was like, hey, what's I'm fighting for? Can someone tell me what it's made out of or whatnot? So I just remember they showed it, and you're right. That is the only selected fighters who get to fight for that, right? You could beat no champion. I could be wrong. Has ever got the opportunity to fight for a BMF. Right, because like you said,
right. It's only been fought for twice.
Yeah, so it's a selected few that get the opportunity to fight for something like that. So that could be its own prestigious belt itself, right? Because obviously, becoming champion, you could be the most boring fighter or whatever it may be, and work your way up the ladder and then win the belt. Obviously, that is a prestigious thing too. But this is like hand selected, like the Gentleman's Club or. It's its own or Men in Black. Only the few can get the fight for this belt. So that's a interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, that was my perspective on fighting for it. I was like, this is special because to have your name in the hat, to be considered for this fight, you must have had a long career. You must have put on great fights. Fans want to see you fight. And going back to the first one, George Masvidal, Nate Diaz fought for it. These are fighters.
Yep.
These are every time they fight, I'm buying the pay-per-view. I'm watching. I'm not missing. Either time those guys fight, I'm not going to miss it. Same thing with Max. Same thing with Justin. So they need to keep it that way along the lineage of the belt. Like keep those fights happening.
What if they let somebody fight for it? You're like, what the hell? Like, what if they? I'm trying to think of somebody who they let fight for it. You're like, what the hell's going on here? What? Why? Now you just took all the mystique away from. They should let like a badass grappler fight for it, where it's like he's gonna go out there, just pull guard and be like, da 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 da, fuck him up.
No, it has to be like a kill or be killed fighters. You know, the perfect match needs to happen, and this is one of them. You know, this is gonna be a crazy fight.
Yeah. I love how you said Max is not small. Like when I hung out with him, I was like, dude, how the hell you make more fun? He goes, hey, bruh, it's not easy, bruh, but I get it done, you know? I think I was out there when he was after he came back from Japan. I think he was like 175 or 180, I believe. And I was like, dude, you're fucking massive. And that's the thing when it comes to, like, how do you feel about weight cutting, right? Obviously, you start at 170. You know, you fight at 155, 170, depending on what's going on. Like, how do you feel about the weight cutting?
Honestly, it's like one of my least favorite things about fighting. But if you competed at your natural weight, you'd be so undersized. These guys are huge, man. Yeah. You know, these guys are huge. Like a few times in my UFC career, I was like, maybe I'll move up to 170, but then I'm at a super gym filled with a room full of 170s at this level of competition. I'm like, no, these guys I can't do it. You know, they're going to be 30 pounds heavier than me on fight night.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing, like with the whole weight, because now that I'm competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the weight class goes 141 or it goes 154. And I used to walk around like 142, and then I would fight 135. And so for me, after I got done, you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to pursue Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the gi. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to put some size on. So I started eating way more protein, way more calories, and I got up to 150. And everybody's like, man, why don't you go 141? I was like, I'm not cutting weight, and I'm not going to cut weight before my match and then wear my gi. So I'll have to cut like 137 because you weigh in your gi.
Yeah, you have to weigh in with the gi.
And then after that, you go right to fight. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm 37 years old. I'm done. I'm not doing it. So I go up. And everybody's like, man, you're going to be fighting all those guys on steroids, and they're going to be coming down after you. And I'm like, hey, if my skills and if my skills and my speed and my cardio can't beat them, then it is what it is. So I can only imagine you being in a gym full of super athletes where they actually fight at 170. You're like, yep, I'm good. I'm going to go 155. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then I'm even surrounded by 55ers who are a lot bigger than me, you know, on the scale. So it is what it is.
All right. Well, Dustin, I don't want to keep you from that 5-mile run. You know, before we started this interview, I hope what I did say doesn't come true, because I don't wish, you know, that upon you. And Dustin, tell people where they can find you, man.
Dustin Poirier across social media, Instagram, Twitter. That's pretty much all I'm on is IG and Twitter, or X, not Twitter, X. My name, Dustin Poirier.
Boom. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our guest. You can catch his fight in Miami, Florida. Make sure you don't miss it. The gentleman is going to put on another banger as always. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, and my co-host, Michael Wandsrover. We appreciate you guys listening to this episode of the Mighty Cast. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. And also hit the bell so you know when we go live again. Cheer. Well, damn. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We just got done with our guest, Dustin Poirier, and we're going to take a little recap of our reaction of the interview. One, what an absolute amazing human being, Dustin Poirier. I fought with him before on UFC 178, and that was a long, long, long time ago. And to see his career flourish the way that it has, from the Conor McGregor trilogy, as he said on the podcast, that was the most money he's ever made. Him battling, you know, Eddie Alvarez twice, Max Holloway twice, Justin Gaethje twice. He's fought Habib. I mean, this guy has fought the who's who. Obviously, we're looking forward to his fight coming up against Benoit on March 9th. It's going to be an interesting fight because I don't know much about Benoit, and I'm going to pull up his thing right here.
People could tell that you don't know much, that you're calling him what are you saying, Benoit? Benoit. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Benoit. Michael, there's so many damn fighters out there now. I just can't keep track. I just truly can't keep track. Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm going to call him Saint-Denis. French
Benoit
name.
Saint-Denis.
What I kind of want your take, DJ, because we weren't going to ask him about it, but there's a lot of talk going into this fight. People thinking, oh, Dustin Poirier, he's more wants to fight like the legends, like the Michael Chandlers, the Conor McGregor. So when he accepted this fight, there was a lot of surprise from people of like, oh shit, like Poirier's actually fighting, you know, a young guy, a 28-year-old in his prime, instead of going against those, you know, BMF division, so to speak, as we talked about. So one, I want to say is, were you surprised that he accepted this fight? And what were your thoughts on that whole debacle of like the contract negotiations and all of that bullshit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, you know, Dustin Poirier, he said himself, he's a fighter's fight, right? He loves to fight. He's still in the game. He still enjoys it. He has that love-hate relationship, which I think every athlete has that love-hate relationship with any sport that they're doing, whether it's basketball, NHL, NFL, whatever it may be. But we love it so much, we want to keep on doing it. And for him to take on a guy who is 13-1, Benoit Saint-Denis, it just shows right there that he's
Benoit Saint-Denis.
Denis. There's a fucking S there, right? So, I'm gonna call him Benoit Saint. Benoit Saint. So since he's taking on Benoit Saint,
well, no, but people call him BSDs.
BSD, I love that. Since he's taking on a young, hungry BSD who's 13-1 in his prime, it just shows that Dustin Poirier is not scared to take on the newcomers or fight one of the legends. And obviously, you know, there was a little debacle with miscommunication with the UFC, his manager, and himself. Obviously, you know, we all know what it is, right? I've been there before. End of the day, he is the draw. He is the A side. BSD is the B side. And if Dustin Poirier wants to get a little bit more of those demands for himself, then by God all means, he does what he needs to. And I think they came to an agreement. They sorted everything out. And now he's going to be fighting BSD on March 9th. I mean, it's going to be a tough fight. We don't know much about BSD, but the guy's 13-1. Obviously, he's legit in the UFC, co-main event. Dustin Poirier, he always shows up. Dustin always shows up. He loves the pressure. He mentioned it in the podcast. He loves the pressure from business, the pressure from fighting, the pressure of preparing to go out there and compete. And I think Dustin's going to go out there and shine like a diamond.
Yeah, no, and I think it's very interesting because, like, almost part of me did want to see him go against one of those BMF kind of, like, for example, one of the fights that was talked about was Nate Diaz, right?
Yeah.
If we had Nate Diaz come back and we had Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, UFC 300, I can definitely see that side of things, but I do think it's also part of our conversation and part of this interview was Dustin saying how important it was for him to win the lightweight title.
Yep.
So if that is truthfully a goal that he still has, no offense to Nate Diaz at all, an absolute legend, great career. But if he's fighting Nate Diaz versus Benoit Saint-Denis, like, and your goal is still the lightweight title, there's obviously like no comparison there.
Yeah, I think if you want to get to title shot, I think you fight BSD. You know, Nate Diaz, absolute legend, like you said. Nate Diaz is wishy-washy. You don't know if he wants to fight. If he does want to fight, you got to go through negotiation tactics with him. You got to get him to fight. You got to show up. There's a lot more hoops and bounds to get through to get Nate in the ring than to get a guy who's a hungry contender, who wants to be there, who wants to fight, who wants to active, who wants to be world champion in BSD. I think this is the right step for Dustin Poirier to get that notch that he was talking about, is becoming the undisputed world champion in the lightweight division. And obviously, I think what sells more, obviously, for business would be Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz, because Nate Diaz is a huge draw. I mean, as I talked about household names, becoming a household name, you know, there's many ways to do it. One of them is to become a world champion and to put on amazing fights. But if you look at the long list of athletes who fought in the UFC, not just the UFC, just in mixed martial arts, Fedor Emelianenko, he's a household name. Mirko Cro Cop is a household name. Uriah Faber, Donald Cerrone, the list just goes on. Justin Gaethje is a household name. And all those guys I just named were never UFC champions, but they were so friendly, fan favorite when they would fight, that over time people became fans of their fighting style and their household names. Like, I can go to the gym now and say, hey, do you guys know who Donald Cerrone is? They're like, absolutely, he's amazing. It's the cowboy. You know who the California kid is? Yeah, it's Riot Faber. But I can ask them, about, do you know who Carlos Newton is? They wouldn't know because obviously he's past his prime. It's not part of their scene, and he wasn't a champion that was a household name. You know what I mean? Like if you go ask about Randy Couture or Vitor Belfort, who are those champions of those things, but they're also a fan favorite. So I like the matchup. I think it's great. I mean, Dustin Poirier gives him opportunity to fight a young, hungry guy who's coming up the ladder. And hopefully with this win, it get him back on track to get a title shot.
Yeah, and also it pains me, but when we stopped shortly after recording on the interview, you had mentioned it to Poirier. You're like, what did you say to him when the interview ended about his hair?
Oh. I said, man, we need to talk about your beautiful hair. He's got great hair, man. If you look at it,
but my favorite part, I wish we were still rolling. That he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I shaved it though, and he takes off the hat, and you're just like, what? No. How dare you? You actually have a beautiful hairline, and then you should just go and shave your head.
Shame on him. Shame. I think it's funny. I think like the whole hair thing. It's a fun thing. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoy being bald. I have no problem being bald. I just think it's funny. It's kind of like my little gimmick. My buddy, it's a kind of a gimmick for my buddy. For my friends who don't like to be bald. Like I have a buddy whose name is Tony. I just did his podcast. It's called the Unscripted Arena. I did his podcast, and we're talking about his hair loss, and he said he misses it every day. And you look at guys like Floyd Mayweather, he's got a full line of hair, and I just find it funny. So when I see athletes who got beautiful hair like Sugar Sean O'Malley, we had him on the podcast. We talked about his hair, how he likes to do different things with it. So it's kind of a little fun and gimmick. So ladies and gentlemen, I do enjoy being bald, but could you imagine I fucking had a banging ass hairline, a low taper fade, and into this fucking gorgeous beard and a fro hawk? Shee.
No, yeah, and I guess one last thing I would say is what's something you learned about Dustin from the interview that you didn't know about him before talking to him today?
The biggest thing being a professional athlete and now transitioning into this side of my career where I'm putting my foot on the brakes. I'm letting putting my foot on the brake and just kind of taking a step back from all the things I've done in my career as an athlete. And the one thing I wish I would have done was just build my brand a little bit more. Hearing him say that he's built his brand his whole entire career with the business, the wine, the culinary, the hot sauce, the foundation, all these amazing things he's been doing inside of his career. I feel like I am now just getting started. But there's a flip side to it where I've almost kind of been building my brand the whole entire time in my mixed martial arts career. I just haven't really dived into the business side of things, like invested in amazing companies like Quantum Energy Square, Zekin, Portable Consultant. The list just goes on, the things that I'm working on right now, or even my podcast or even the YouTube channel, right? Could you imagine if I was like on my 8th consecutive title defense and we have the podcast going on? Like, would I be focused enough to do all of these things? You know what I mean? So that was one of the things I learned about him. I thought he just had the hot sauce business going on, but he's got a wine business, the whiskey business. He's got so many different things going on. And it's just absolutely to hear that he's got all those things going on, man. So it makes me happy to see that he has all these things going on. And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys checking out this podcast. It was very fun. Thank you to our guest, Dustin Poirier, for giving us this time before his fight. I know he's in training camp. He's away from his wife and his kids. And I appreciate you. If you guys like this kind of reaction way of like a recapping of the show, let us know. And then we will do a different segment outside of the actual show and give you guys our thoughts on the show, because I actually kind of like doing this, right? Because, I go upstairs, I talk to Destiny, I'm like, hey, she goes, how's the guest? I thought, oh, he's great. I know, found out so much more about Dustin, even Sean O'Malley. I mean, even Tyron Woodley. Like, we learned so much about these guests. We only get to see when the athletes fight. We don't actually get to have a chance to sit down and talk to them and ask the questions that we want to ask. So if you guys like this segment of the reaction of the Mighty Cast of our guests, please leave a like and a comment and let us know, and we will make a complete different segment for this for you guys, because we appreciate you guys, and we wouldn't be here with you guys. You guys have made MightyCast so successful, and me and Michael enjoy doing it, and we love going out there and getting the best guests for the best podcast. We out. How was that?
I was like flicking off the camera. No. Yeah, that was good.